About a week ago, members from the One teams from London and Berlin arrived in Doha. They were there for a conference on financing for development that included more than 50 side events. They arrived in the evening and made their way into the city. They joined more than 40 heads of states and governments and more than 3,000 participants for the conference on financing development.
Hi, I'm Ollie Buston. I'm the European Director of One, and I'm here in Doha representing the One campaign.
So, what exactly is this conference?
It's a conference on financing for development. It's the follow-up to a big conference in Monterrey, Mexico in 2002, where international world leaders agreed a series of commitments to finance the fight against poverty. And we're all here in Doha trying to hold them to account for those commitments and also seeing how the world has changed. Well, in 2002, world leaders met in Monterrey, Mexico, to agree some commitments to help fight poverty and to fund the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals. So we're meeting here in Doha to try and keep world leaders to their promises and also to look at how the world's changed since 2002 and new ideas that have emerged since then.
What exactly do we hope will happen the next 4 days?
Well, obviously we're in the midst of a financial crisis that is affecting ordinary people around the world, in Berlin, in America, across Asia, here in Doha. But it's important to recognise that crisis is going to hit the poorest people in Africa perhaps the hardest. So that's why we're here. We're here to try and make sure that world leaders draw a line in the sand and keep their promises to Africa, keep their aid promises, look at new ways of raising money, innovative financing, and also trying to bring in new contributors, particularly the Gulf states. The Gulf states have benefited quite a lot from high oil prices recently, and we're hoping that they will join international efforts to get kids into school in Africa, to tackle AIDS in Africa, and so on.
After 4 days of negotiations, the conference at Doha ended with a whimper rather than a bang. One's Ollie Buston commented that Doha was the chance for the rich countries to draw a line in the sand and stop retreating in the fight against extreme poverty. After much back and forth, donors have more or less reiterated their aid promises to the poorest countries. But these commitments are not yet being translated into action. All eyes now turn to the G20 meeting in London, when Africa's needs must be squarely addressed. When world leaders meet to address solutions to the financial crisis, they must remember the impact that the crisis will have on the poorest people in the world, and that the financial crisis comes on the back of food and fuel shocks that have hit Africa hard.